And along the conversation, it was very evident in what we talk about. There's a long process of personal development to become and to be a facilitator that can really support children in a self-directed way where they are taking control, ownership of the learning process. So I would like to invite you to reflect a bit more or tell us the things that have helped you to develop personally to be able to be in that space and really be the, horizontal and listening, as you have mentioned, and accepting all these things. Because from traditional education to reach that point, and I know many educators that are tired of the schooling system that they are obliged to follow, and they want to transition towards an education that's more aligned with their values. So it probably will help them to know what's the personal path that you have to go in along the process, or what could help them.
I guess to some extent, ultimately, you have to ask yourself the question, do you really enjoy spending time with young people and children? Because if you see yourself as an educator and your identity is a teacher identity, and I'm in this job because I'm the best teacher, and it's all about being a teacher, then I think it's very difficult to change that. So it's almost the ultimate test is go, I don't know, work in a summer camp. And if you still like, children after that, then you might be able to sort of change things in your classroom, because it's sort of part of the being on the side of the child is very much putting their needs first to some extent. And that means making decisions that might not make you look like a brilliant teacher, but it could be having a class that is more unruly, that is louder. It could be a class, it could be having that one class in the school that everybody hates because they never listen. But that's because they've learned to value respect over a teacher that shouts at them and tells them to do something. So I think that's sort of there's a risk to be taken, and it'll always lead to confrontation with colleagues and management ultimately, because the goals are different often, and not least kids will probably like you better if your class is run differently. So there's a bit of that as well, of the idea that if you make life in the classroom interesting for your children, people perceive that as pandering to the children rather than the hard work it actually is to make that happen. So I think the listening aspect is an important one. Making learning fun is important, but that works if you're having fun yourself. So you have to admit to your own humanity in the classroom, and that is equally for the good days and the bad days. And if you can have fun doing what you're doing, then your students will have fun. And fun doesn't mean I've taught a brilliant lesson, but if you're walking around the classroom laughing and having a joke, and it's almost like being one of the kids in the classroom, then it's a positive thing. It's not easy, and it goes terribly wrong all the time, because there's a tipping point into chaos, and you're sort of riding the wave of that tipping point, and sometimes you fall off the other side and everything really goes to hell. But I think risking that and being able to take that risk and letting go of control, I guess that's the one, that you're handing over control to your students, and that's not going to be easy, and trusting your students as well, because they need to learn that as well. You've probably never been given the chance to be in control of any aspect of their classroom. And it could be putting the furniture a different way in the classroom. It's very little things. You don't have to hand over the entire classroom to your students. It could just be little aspects of school, but they'll probably get it wrong a few times as well. And it's sort of allowing that to happen, allowing those mistakes to happen, rather than as a teacher clinging on to that control to prevent any sort of chaos or anything from going wrong. So that's sort of letting go is a big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that transition from control to trust. And I was writing also that active listening, that it mainly focus on the relationship, on working and having an amazing relationship with the learners. and also the part of having fun and being passionate about what you do. And once that you are passionate and you are enjoying, that is a spread, and it's just like a flame. Everything, if you are shining, then other people are gonna be contagious. They are gonna they are gonna start feeling that, and that passion is gonna also flourish in them. So I think that those three elements, they are really cool. Like relationship, trust, and fun.
And trust in the process, I guess, as well.
Yeah, a friend of mine. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, a friend of mine runs something called a flying squad, which is basically I guess, this alternative school thing outside of school. They're never in a building. They always sort of travel the city. But he calls it a prankster attitude towards learning and teaching. To not take yourself seriously and be able to play pranks on yourself and other people. And it's getting the kids involved in literally playing pranks within the school is quite fun, be it hiding messages or whatever it is, you can have a lot of fun. And that's sort of the important part, and being a bit of a rebel and breaking the rules, I think is important. I'll never forget, while I was still a teaching assistant, we used to it was the year threes, they were the 8-year-olds, and they studied Egypt every year, and they went to the British Museum to look at the Egyptian exhibit every year. And it was really boring. It just isn't much fun. So, there was a lucky group of kids that I was taking around, and we literally walked in with our clipboards, put them in our backpacks, and then toured the entire museum and looked for everything we could touch. There was always things on display and activities going on. And we didn't we didn't fill out any worksheet about Egypt, which I feel sorry for the other kids who had to do it, but we learned about three-legged frogs and luck and what a fake pound coin looks like. And I think that's sort of the being able to not do what you're supposed to do, but what you feel is the right thing for the kids is important. So taking that personal risk as an educator to not follow the rules.